Hey, welcome to the Breaking Free podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Francis. Today, very grateful, very humble, we're joined by another great man, Adrian D'Amico. For those that have listened since the start, I've had Adrian on about three times now. And for those that have listened since right at the very start, I actually listened to Adrian's podcast like 4 or 5 years ago and set me off on the path of my own journey and my own podcasting. Adrian's a coach himself and hosts the Eight Conversations with Adrian D'Amico podcast. So we'll put links to that in the bottom and links to the other three conversations we've had. Adrian, welcome aboard today, mate. It's been another year's gone by since we had our last conversation. What's been going on and
Yeah,
how you going?
I'm going great. Thanks for having me on, mate. It's always a pleasure to chat with you.
Yeah, it
Have you been?
is. Yeah, good, mate. Yeah, just enjoying the sunshine at the moment up here in Queensland.
Yeah, nice. Well, I have to come up. I'm jealous.
Yeah.
We're getting a bunch of rain and some really cold days down here in New South Wales, but you know,
Mm.
take what comes with it, I suppose.
How's your podcast going? I see that you've got it
Yeah.
on Spotify now exclusively. You're off Rumble.
I'm not off Rumble, but I'm making some changes, mate. I think like the podcasting space is pretty exciting and it's growing. And what I'm noticing is that I'm just getting really heavily censored on YouTube. I'm getting censored on Facebook, Instagram. So there's just a lot of I guess there's a couple of vices there that are squeezing me out kind of thing. And if anyone's aware of the algorithm and how they kind of squash certain messaging, they know what I'm talking about.
Mm.
It's Spotify just seems to be a platform that is warming to my audience and my messages, and it's doing great things for me in terms of my branding and getting the messages out that I want to. So I'm just changing things up. I'm kind of coming around in terms of social media. I'm not sure how you feel, but I've got a burning desire to remove myself from social media.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I'm working on a few things behind the scenes, which will sort of change the way that I structure things in terms of life and business and stuff like that. So yeah, that's my
Interesting.
put.
So what's prompted the move off social media? Just because of the censorship, or what? Why is that?
Um, Mate, I guess social media's done great things for me in terms of putting my name up in lights, and it's helped me reach and connect to people all around the world. I don't sort of poo-poo it to the degree that I have any sort of distaste for it, but it's becoming increasingly aware that for me personally that it's affecting it's affecting me in a negative way more than a positive way. And what I mean by
Interesting.
that is that I'm noticing that I'm gravitating more towards my phone. I'm getting those sort of dopamine hits with, likes and comments and things like that. And I just keep finding myself getting pulled to being distracted. So I'm kind of just I'm over the, chasing validation and seeking external validation. So I don't know if that sounds
No,
a
no,
bit
it's an
too
awesome answer.
esoteric, but yeah, I think it's really, really good. I like, I like what I'm like everyone else. I like watching reels. I like yeah, learning things on YouTube. I like listening to podcasts and all that kind of stuff. But I think you get sort of swallowed up into these apps and everything that's all about them, and all of a sudden you just find yourself touching your phone, 150 fucking times a day, and then you're just like, what am I doing? Like what am I consuming here? What am I learning? Like, how is this bettering my life? And what am I missing out on? So yeah, like classic example, you would see it. People walk down the street, they're just looking at their phone, they're not looking up. Yeah, the best one that I see, because every morning I go for a walk and sit by the beach sort of thing and have a coffee and all the rest of it. And I just see people missing out on fucking life, like
Yeah,
they're on the beach and it's 6 o'clock in the morning or 6:30 and the sun rises up. It's just like the most magnificent part of the day. And they're on their phone, like
yeah,
who the fuck are you talking to? Or like, what are you doing at that time? And look what you're missing out on. This amazing, wonderful nature and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know, all of those things combined, mate. Like I'm kind of tired of it. I really want to step
mm,
back and yeah, like don't want to ramble on too much, but like I've been doing a few things behind the scenes and pushing myself in terms of starting businesses and getting things back on track again after losing yeah, a couple of businesses back in the pandemic and all that kind of shit. So it's proven to me that I can kind of work my life in such a fashion that I don't require or am dependent upon being on that phone and posting and coming up with something that I can kind of project out to the world and pour my life into it and document everything that I do and all that kind of stuff. So that to me is sort of proven to me that I can do it without needing to be there all the time and all that kind of shit that goes with it. You with me?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you, and I 100% agree with what you said before too about how you find yourself checking like 150 times a day, like because I'm a bit younger than you. That's all the young people do today. Is that
Mm.
and as you said, they'll miss out on those more important parts of a day because they're on the phone on Snapchat and all these things. It's so refreshing to hear even a bit of an older man. I don't want to call you too old, mate, but like it was so refreshing to hear that even someone like you's like far out. This thing's like I'm the same. Like this whole week has been the same thing. I'm like I'm on this thing way too much.
Mm.
Dan, you're right about the dopamine with the likes and comments too. Far out. You just summed up my last 7 days because I've been pondering the same thing.
Yeah. Look, I've gone. I'm working on. I've been working on a book for quite a while now, and I'm sort of pouring a lot of my knowledge into a book, and it's sort of getting to the point now where it's at the tail end, and I'm really looking forward to getting it off to being published and things like that. But one of the things that I talk to in the book is your internal and external environment. So I talk to the inner thoughts and feelings and emotions that go on in between your mind and your heart and your soul and all those things, but also the influences that external environment has on you. So if you're not completely consciously aware of the TV shows that you watch, the movies that you consume, the social media, the porn, just anything that is externally affecting your environment to um, I guess it has an impression. Everything's is a vibration and an energy, and you're absorbing whatever energy is coming out of the screen or whatever energy is coming out of a movie. And as much as I love movies and I love like retribution movies, I love anything to do with payback, right? Like someone sort of getting their own. Like I love it.
Hmm.
But you would know as well as I do that you can be so enthralled in a movie and it moves you to tears. It's an emotive thing. So if you know that that's how powerful just watching a screen is, well then once you become aware of the things that you're consuming on a day-to-day basis, you start to realize just how much of an impact it's having on your psyche, on the way that you think, feel, and act. And mind control, as you know, is it's a thing,
Hmm.
and there's an interesting tool that people, the sort of people that be like want to if they want to convey a message and they want to project some sort of an influence on you, they can do that. And anyway, all of those things are leading to me kind of just taking a back step and becoming consciously aware of the actions that I take. What kind of a role model do I want to be to my kids? And they're really good at picking me apart whenever I'm contradictory to the messages that I'm putting out.
And that's always good too to have that mirror as well.
Absolutely,
Mm.
yeah. Like there's a version of Nathan that you want to project to the world, and I know that when you said mention the age gap and all the rest of it, like when I got onto social media. It was about 2010. So 2010, 2011, I owned a real estate business and I was paying a fortune in advertising in paper-based ads. So I turned to social media because it was an opportunity for me to use video marketing, for example, to tell people about, like, for example, I had these how's the market videos. I used to talk about open homes and about the trends and all that kind of stuff. And I did about 140 videos over a couple of years. And all I had was this shitty little Sony bloggy that I bought from JB Hi-Fi for 180 bucks because we didn't have smartphones.
No, we didn't.
And I used to use YouTube and then again Facebook, and I used to run ads and all that kind of stuff. So like I'm a huge proponent of like that's what I used to do. And I had, yeah, eventually as the platform started to become more prominent, and YouTube, Snapchat, Instagram, like LinkedIn, I had them all, and I was fucking documenting my entire life across all of them all the time. It was all consuming, and I got wrapped up. It affected my relationship with my wife at the time. Like it affected my marriage, and I got pulled into the dark corners of the web and all that shit.
Yeah.
Right. So I've been there. You know,
Mm.
I've been all consuming about saying that it's all a business thing, but I not really coming to terms or being real with myself about how much it was affecting other parts of my life. Right. So now that I'm older and wiser, I can kind of step back and say, you know what? Um, I can do without it. You know, I can use these tools for the betterment of myself, my life, my income, and the things that I want, but I don't have to be in there every fucking day, every minute, documenting, diarizing my life, pouring my heart and soul out to everyone just so I can, see if I can get 50 likes and someone can do business with me, like I feel like a bit of a not so much a fraud, but a manipulator. It's just like it's largely becoming less and less of who I want to be.
Yeah, it's interesting. Very interesting point because yeah, I haven't posted anything for a couple of days myself, and then we're talking about this, and I'm like, far out. Because I felt the exact same way over the last 10 days. It's unreal how I just emailed you last week. I had to jump on for a podcast. I don't know what to talk about yet. We're feeling the exact same thing.
Mm. Yeah, well, that's the energy, and I think
Yeah,
the tone that I'm getting from a lot of people that I interview, particularly in this coaching space, and when we're having these kinds of conversations, is that people are yearning for community. They're yearning for physical touch and human
yeah,
interaction. So yeah, that's a part of my future is to sort of like um, how can I help people and touch people around the world with the information and knowledge that I want to share? And how can I do it in such a way that helps me impact others without impacting me in a negative way?
yeah,
Right.
yep,
So yeah, there's I think it's an evolution, and I don't want to sort of switch it off and then go into the woods for 6 weeks or do some shit like that. I'm just like, you know what? I can use it as a force for good, and as long as I'm aware of how it's affecting me in my life, I feel like I don't know, I'm on the right track.
yeah. I definitely feel like we can use it for a force of good. Ah, yeah, I 100% agree with you. What do you make, just with the AI and stuff too? Like you got ChatGPT and all these and all these other things too. Like I feel like it's taking us away from our own message, our own unique way of expressing ourselves if we're putting it into ChatGPT.
Yeah.
A lot of these content creators are writing and coaches too, even in our awakened space are writing their scripts and whatever from an AI automated bot. It's like, well, where's the authenticity in that? Yeah, you might sound a bit better, but are you being true to you? Like, there's that
Mhm.
layer as well. Like, there's the AI now, mate. What's your thoughts
Yeah.
on that?
My thoughts is that I really like efficiencies. So um, a part of me, it's almost like pretty much what I was speaking to before. How can I utilize this in the best way possible?
Yeah,
So if and again with like writing my book and things like that, AI tools have become really, really helpful for me to expedite the process to getting my book from idea to being
yeah,
published.
that's true. Yeah,
So there are things that are really helpful in that respect. If I want to polish up an article and put something out there on a very quick basis that stops me from deliberating hours and hours over something,
yeah, it's true. Yeah,
I'm all for it.
mm,
So, to the degree that it is authentically you, I think, everyone should be cautious around AI
mm.
for the obvious reasons, which is, like I fucking hate it when my AI says like it starts complimenting me on the things that I'm doing and encouraging me and supporting. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
this is a really great idea, Adrian. I think that
yes,
your viewers will really love this. And I was like, fuck off. Yeah,
yeah,
just like get away from me, you stupid bot.
yeah,
It's crazy how.
Mm,
it kind of like it learns you and all the rest of it. So I hate
yeah.
that side of it, but I also utilize it, the efficiency of it. So again, I think you got to know, I don't know, you got to establish some boundaries. You got to know that not everything can be put through AI. It needs to be authentically you. But much like you with your podcast, like I have this long form content which I really love, and a lot of my podcast now are sort of, 45 minutes is a short time, so
Mm,
45 minutes to an hour and a half is every podcast. So I feel like none of it's scripted, none of it has
mm,
like no one has a bunch of questions that I give them in advance, and every time I switch on the camera and it starts recording, I'm just rolling with it. I don't. There's nothing inauthentic about that. It's
yeah.
all me talking conversationally, just coming up with questions, like we're doing here. So I feel like I'm ticking that box of being authentic and being real, and people seeing me, like fumble over words and sentences and not being polished and swearing and all that kind of stuff. So that's who I am. If you meet me in the street and we have a coffee together or whatever, like this is how I am. I'm no different to what you see.
Yeah, same here too. And that's how I started my podcast. Same. I'm like, what's the point? Like, you just jump on for a chat. Yes, there's topics that this person's. It's like talk about those. You don't need. Yeah, for me, I'm exactly the same. I did the whole intro thing. Some went like 5 minutes, and now I'm like, you know what? This is Adrian. Like went for like 20 seconds. It's like you don't even need. Like
Yeah,
you're right, and that authentic part too is that it's just you expressing you having a conversation that's like I've got nothing written here. I got
yeah.
a pen in my hand, but there's nothing here. I don't need anything because you and I are, yeah, we've spoken so many times, and
That's it. Just have.
even just listening to your podcast a lot has helped me with mine. Like I started mine on the back of yours with Jason, really, and I was like,
Yeah,
well,
right.
if a bloke from Wollongong can start a podcast and be a bit older than me and express his truth. I'm like, well, why can't I fucking do it? Like he had Dale on of all people. I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
Dale's the most unorganized bloke I've ever met in my entire life. Surely I can start a podcast.
Yeah, he's a classic.
Yeah.
I always joke about him because in the last couple of interviews that I've had with him, I've said, look, would you mind using a mic and an actual laptop, like get out of your van or that sort of shit, and he has a laugh about it. So,
Yeah.
which is good. But yeah, mate, like that's a really good example of someone who just sort of rolls with it and is not very polished and he's totally comfortable in his skin, right? And you'll attract the people that like that.
Mm.
And like when you talk about intros, I put an intro into mine and I've got programs and things that I
Yeah.
advertise on there. So I use it as a platform for me to promote my coaching and things like that, which is fine. Like it's my platform. I don't have any ads on there as in paid ads, and I don't have any intention of monetizing it in that way. So and they only appear a couple of times and all the rest of it. But at the same time, like I didn't really want it to be really well glued together and really well polished. And even that intro that I've got, which is like 30 seconds or so. Someone the other day said, like I really like the intro. It's a bit long. It's like, fuck, it's 30 seconds, like, so I was like, oh, I got to cut this down even shorter. So anyway, it's just it's an interesting time to be alive, but that's just
Yeah.
the way it is.
Yeah, it is, and a lot of people have that, like the attention spans too. For me, I'm attempting to appeal to a much younger audience. It's the attention span. So for me, it's like the real content that I put out there of the podcast are about 15 seconds long because
Yeah,
they'll just flick to the next one. You know what I mean? If it
yeah, I
doesn't
do.
grab their attention, see you later. That's the generation we're in. I can't believe we're here, but yeah, it's wild, eh?
Yeah. I mean, look, it's a shit thing, but the idea is that the snackable type of content that people want to scroll through is fine. And then you really want to pick the eyes out of the audience that will gravitate towards wanting more of your messages. So yeah, from a marketing perspective, like I do the reels as well and all the rest of it, and that's fine. They,
Mm,
they get attention, but for those that want to go a little bit deeper, then I have long form content, and my goal is to just sort of help people get to that point where they can know me, like me, and trust me, and like I don't force anyone to do anything. I don't
No.
sell anyone. I don't have any hard pitches. Like when you're ready, you're ready. It's just, and if you're not, you're not.
Yep.
It's the same with my other business. I've got started another business a couple of years ago, in the trades area. So it's completely opposite to what I've been doing online, and it's the same thing. It's like I'll demonstrate the value that I have, and if you want to take this on board, then great, and if you don't, great. Like I don't hound anyone. I just
Mm.
do yeah, I just, like I said, just promote that I'm valuable and demonstrate that I can help you in some sort of way. And whatever decision you make is totally fine. Like
Yep.
it's a part of my mentality that there's more than enough work out there, and my job is just to get in front of eyeballs and belly to belly, face to face, eyeball to eyeball. That's just my goal.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's so, yeah, no, it's bloody awesome. What else has been going on, mate? Like, it's just, we're in the back half of 2025. Where do you see our world going? Is a good
Mm.
question for you. Well, what do you see happening in the next couple of years to 2030? Like, we're really at 2030 now. Like, back in 2020, it's like, oh, this 2030 plan. It's like, oh, that's 10 years. Well,
Agenda.
we're over halfway there now.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you see?
Mate,
What's going on in the world? What do you see? What do you see going on?
yeah, it's a good question. Look, there's a lot going on, but I think that for a large part of my philosophy on how things are going in the world, I kind of just take a 30,000 foot view and then come all the way back to what I'm doing and how I can control
Mm,
my life and influence the people around me. So
love that.
I, I I see all the stuff that comes out about the agenda and about AI and about digital currency and one world governments and all of that kind of stuff. I'm well aware of it, and I've been screaming from the rooftops for fucking 5 years about it. But at the same time, it's just I have the belief system now that if you are not aware by now of what's going on, I don't think that's your calling.
Yeah,
And and I'm not going to drag you over hot coals to get you to realize what's going on, because again, much like I was talking about with social media and things like that, it affects me more than you. So if I'm
100%.
trying to scream and yell at you to
Yeah,
get
100%.
over to my side, like it hurts me more than it hurts you. You're like, what am I doing? Like, what's going on? There's nothing happening. Yeah, everything's fine. I'm like, you're gonna fucking, yeah. So it's just, I
Yep.
can feel my body just tighten up, trying to get you to make a decision. So um,
Yeah.
I just, I think true spirituality is understanding that in the moment, it's all you have, and all you can do is control how you think, feel, and act, and influence the people around you. As a father of three kids, like that's been a real challenging thing, because my kids are 18, 15, and 13, and they're in the throes of that schooling system. And one's just come out like last year, but they're in the throes of the schooling system. So I don't have the ability to homeschool them, and I don't have the ability to sort of pull them out at this stage, but I do have the ability to influence them in the way that I see the world. And then the hardest part is me letting go and letting them make their own decisions. So it's difficult, man, because I'm up against the LGBTQ and all of
Yeah.
the safe words and and the pronouns and all that kind of stuff, and then the schooling system and how they teach my kids, and it's very contradictory to the way I think and feel, and how I speak to them. So I need to say to myself, as a father, I have only so much agency over what I can do and control to how my kids maybe model how I am, and then the rest is up to them. And that's truly difficult. So um, yeah, I more to the point of like how I see the world play out. I honestly think it's just going to play out.
Yep.
Get back, Nathan, like when you go back 5 years ago and you listen to Jason Christoph and you had this, awakening about how the world works and what you're going to do to shape yourself and mold yourself into the person that you want to become. You would have just your whole mind would have exploded, right?
Yep.
You're in a situation where you're like, fuck, man, the veil's been lifted, and now I'm having this rebirth, and it's hard and it's shocking, and I don't know what to do. You may have felt disorientated. You may have felt like perhaps at one point you just didn't really know which way to turn. You had no direction, and
Hmm.
then you finally found your feet, and you start to pick a path, and you fall and you stumble and you graze your knee and you pick yourself back up again. You keep going. So um, it's like when you start to say to people, "Look what I know," and let me show you what's going on in the world so I can help you know the things that I know, you kind of get to this point where you're like, I've screamed and I've yelled and I can see what's happening. But even though people are awakening to what's going on, it's still happening. Like
Hmm.
it sounds defeatist, but it's almost like it needs to play out. Right? Have you ever had a mate or someone that you know and you know they're going down the wrong path? They might have been drinking or taking drugs or whatever it is, and you sort of had that chat about them about, hey, listen,
Yep.
man, you keep going down this way, it's not going to end well. And they kind of like agree with you, but at the same time, they just keep doing what they're doing.
Yep.
And you're like, you know what? This person just has to fall. They have to be brought to their knees before they realize what's going on.
Yep.
Um,
100%.
that happened to you in that version of it, and it happened to me. Like I
Mm.
lost, my marriage fell apart, and I had my business go, up in smoke, and I had many moments where I was just living week to week, and sort of hand to mouth about, go to the shops and just, I don't know, I'd be frightful that, fearful, sorry, that my card wasn't going to get rejected because I had no fucking money in my account. I didn't know whether those groceries were gonna go through or whether I had to put some back. Like it's just I got to that point. I had injuries, I had all sorts of problems going on in my life, and then it brought me to my knees. And now I have a level of perspective and resilience and all the rest of it that I didn't have before, and it's made me the person that I am. The version of Adrian that is projecting himself to the world now is different from 12 months ago and 12 months before that and,
Yeah.
and 12 months before that. So I'm evolving. So my long-winded answer is that I think these things will play out. I
Mm.
think that I always use the analogy of like um, when someone gets a health scare and they get cancer or they have a heart attack or stroke or whatever it is, or they have something going on in their life that really impacts them, then all of a sudden they're eating healthy, they're dropping the seed oils, they're the sugars, they're exercising. And like, why the fuck didn't you do that 10 years ago? Why wasn't that a part of you before? But now that you've had this health scare, it's at the 11th hour, you make the switch and you're a changed man or you're a changed woman. I think these things will play out, Nathan. I think that this digital currency and the one world government, I think it won't play out to the degree that we're all going to be living in this dystopian world and all the rest of it, because I think there are too many people that are aware and awake for that to happen.
Mm.
I think that they're going to try super hard to control everyone on the planet. And there's going to be a division, and there's going to be an uprising, and there's going to be a revolution of sorts. And if you go back in history, seems to be played out a fair bit. You can go back way beyond the Bible and prior to that, where it's all happened before, and there's nothing new under the sun. So
No, 100%. Love the answer.
I see it happen. It happen.
So much gold nuggets in there too, and it's so true. Like, I feel like we've all been on that path where we're like trying to scream and shout and all the things, but then you just find that for me too, same as you, it was more of a waste of energy. It's like I was trying to beat it home. It's like this is what's going on, and you're so right about letting that person figure it out for themselves. You might have dropped a seed. And even with personally too, like there's some people around me at the moment that are going through some stuff and are doing the things and me being older than them, it's like what you just said, you have to let that go, let them fall, as you said, but it's so hard watching the fall because I'm like, I've been there and I can actually rip you out, but you're not letting me rip you out because you need to fall. When you said that, I was like, fuck, I'm going through that right now as well. Like people around me are like, fuck, oh, Jesus. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like it's just
I
so
do.
hard watching that happen right now because I'm good. You know, my space is internally, externally is good. But yeah, some people around me are, here, there, and here, there, and everywhere, and going down that path, as you said, it's very hard watching that and knowing that because then, it just brings up, I just want to help, but it's like, I have to let them do their thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do. The
Yeah.
thing is, like, it's the whole like when the student is ready, the teacher will appear, and it's just you just have to wait. You have to be
Mm.
there when they're ready.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Mm.
I, I can relate to it on the coaching front and things like that, but it's more paramount to me when it comes to my children.
100%.
So, through my divorce and losing the business and stuff like that, my kids went through a really dark time, and one in particular, was at a really low point, and we weren't on good terms, and it was such a feeling of helplessness, that you really couldn't do anything about it. You didn't really have much control, and in as much as you wanted to just shake him and throttle him and tell him to wake up and and tell him it's all going to be good, and you've got all the answers to the problems, you've been there before, like you got the solution, but I had to kind of ride that out,
Mm.
so it takes a lot of time, but as long as you're consistent, as long as you are persistent, as long as you don't waver from your core values, and as long as you embody what you do, say, think, feel, act. I think congruency is something that is really lacking in society today. It's especially prominent in this coaching space because, again, like we have a persona that we project online, and then there's a persona that we are in real life. So, yeah, there's a lot of do as I say, not as I do.
There
And
is.
there's a lot of times where you can pick apart people that in times of duress, in times of when things get hard, when they're squeezed, and you really see what's inside of them. And that's part of the things that I've been really working on within myself to make sure that, when I got squeezed in the past, it was anger and resentment and frustration and rage that come out. I had to really do a lot of work on figuring why that was the way it was, and then start to live and act congruently to all of my highest values. And when I'm in alignment like that, Nath, like when I have those moments where I don't know if I've got any more than $10 on my bank card, or if anything's going to go through, it allows me to push through those moments and look to the horizon and look for solutions, and not treat anyone any different as if I was, broken and one foot in the grave sort of thing, right? So it allowed me to keep my integrity and stay consistent. And people can go back through my podcast for the last couple of years and just know that as little as 2 years ago, that's where I was. But if you see how I was projecting myself outwardly, you wouldn't know that my inner world was as rocky as what it was.
Yeah, 100%. And I can relate to that too because, when I started this, I was at my lowest point too. And it's like no one would have, and only those around me would have had an idea of what I was going through when I first started this thing. It's, oh man, I started this on the bloody road trip with Dale, like
Yeah.
2.5 years, 3.5 years ago. But it's like no one would know. Yeah, you're right. No one would have known what was going on in my internal world because I was putting something out there. Yeah, I can relate to that too, man. When I started this thing too,
Mm.
it's like I don't know. I've. It's like we could almost. I just want to hold that bloke now that started this thing. You know what I mean? Like I looked at old podcasts of this. I actually watched our first chat the other day. I'm like, fuck, that guy was going through some stuff when he spoke to you first time. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like
Well, it's an evolution. I
it is.
think,
Yeah.
like, I look at that's past versions of myself that in terms of not so much the podcast, but just the type of person that I was trying to become, and I was modeling certain people and being inauthentic, and I could listen to the words that I was saying, I could read the words that I was writing and stuff like that, and I look back and go like, yeah, who was this bloke? It's just I can't even
Mm,
imagine myself writing that today, let alone writing it 5 years ago. It was just the total opposite of how I would think right here. But I think again, that's spirituality, that's
yeah,
evolution. Yeah, if you're not changing, you're dying. There's no sort of in between. There's no stabilizing, You're not stagnate. You're either growing or you're dying. There's nothing in between. Make sense?
100%. Yep, 100%. I've had a lot of people, a couple of people in my circle say that to me over the last 12 months too. You know, if you're not growing or learning, you're dying. It's so true.
Hmm.
Mm,
And I guess the caveat is that you don't want to delude yourself to thinking that you're something that you're not.
yeah.
Yeah. So like, I like fitness and like keeping fit and all the rest of it. But again, I have to check myself and say like, where are you at in reality of things? Like, let's not delude yourself. Don't pick your best side in the mirror and just think that it's all looking good. Like you really need to have a come to Jesus sort of moment and be real about where things are at. So I think there's a little vortex that you can kind of get stuck in where you think you're in the pocket, but sometimes you need a bit of a reality check. But as long as you got that in place, I think there's they're again like key markers and sort of barometers that you can use in order to
Mm,
as a benchmark to kind of go, you know what, that's where I was. This is where I am now. Let's look back in reflection as to how that looks like, and am I happy with the trajectory that I'm on? Then great. Like it's that whole thing. If you look back 5 years ago and your life's nothing different, it hasn't changed. Well, you can go forward 5 years and it'll be exactly how
listen,
you see
yeah,
it today, right?
yeah, yeah, 100%. And yeah, I love talking to you, mate. You just hit me with these. You actually hit me with reality checks. You know that, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, every
Yeah.
time we talk, there's some sort of wide-eyed moment that you have where you go, "That's exactly what's happening in my life right this minute."
Well, what you've actually just described in over the last 45 minutes is literally my last couple of months, which is interesting timing getting you back on.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
Because
It's just
I get humbled all the time. I actually call them humbling. I get humbled when I'm in a certain way, doing a certain thing. I'll just get the smack from the
Mhm.
universe or from someone around me, and it's like, oh. And then today I've had three from you.
That's the way it goes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a bit of a vibe going on. I think that's what happens in nature and reality and all the rest. It's just it's a vibe, man. I don't know how else to explain it.
Mm,
And I think people like consciousness is shifting and evolving, and I'm speaking to a lot of people that, and we're all saying the same thing, and it's the exact same scenario. It's like I had a conversation just the other day that a podcast that will probably come out next week with Luke Kennedy and Jag Hart, right? And they're great guys. They're coaches and speakers in their own respective fields and stuff like that. And it was just interesting to talk about our lives and the trajectory that we're on, the paths and things that are happening. And there was so many synergies as to how I was thinking and feeling and acting. And I haven't seen these guys in ages, like we haven't spoken in about a year.
mm,
So yeah, man, there's something going on. And I think everyone that is at that level of vibration, they're feeling it. And if you can
mm.
tune in and intuitively feel through all of it, like you'll come out the other side.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And, and it's also just finding that time for ourselves too, And I feel like a lot of people that even aren't as conscious are still feeling like there's something there.
Mm.
And that's what I'm seeing out there amongst where I'm living here on the sunny coast is a lot of people that aren't actually aware are still feeling like there's something missing and there's something not quite right, either whether it's internal or external, it's the same.
Yeah. Well,
Mm,
look, I think at the end of the day, Nate, like, we'll jump off this podcast and we've got to go to work and um, kick goals and do all the things that we want to do. And for people that are perhaps still finding their feet, aware to the degree of what's going on, but they need to kind of have a game plan as to say, like, how am I going to integrate this into my life, and how am I going to change things so I can slowly sort of peel the layers back and get myself to, again, the version that I want to project into the world. Where am I going to put my family? And a lot of that just comes to awareness of values, and a value is just simply something that's, very important to you, and that can be in any domain of life. So again, if that awareness thing is, if that's not something that's conscious, and you're not bringing that to the surface all the time, and having those little self check-ins and making sure that you are on the right track, well then the day-to-day throes of life will just it'll that will elude you over time. You'll get sucked back into the matrix, right? You're like, it's again, go back to the phone, to the internet, and all that kind of stuff. It pulls you back in, and all of a sudden you're back into the same system that you're trying to escape from.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've got a big drawing and pulling towards creating the environment that I want to have, that is conducive to the life and lifestyle and the impact that I want to make in my life. And it requires living and operating in a system within a system. Does that make sense? There are rules within this society that apply to some people and not to others, but that's only because we've never been taught that there are two sets of rules. So once you figure out that there's two sets, and you're like, right, I've got a different, part of my adventure that I can choose. So I don't know if you're old enough to remember Choose Your Own Adventure books, but you can either take A or take B, and each path will lead you down a different version of your story. So again, you need to explore these things and become aware of it. But once you're aware, what you do is what matters. How you integrate that into your life is what matters. It's all in the action, and the universe always rewards action. So
Mm.
I'm all for affirmations and positive thinking and all that kind of stuff, but you can't fucking sit on the couch and wish for things to happen, and not actually do anything about it.
Mm.
And the more actions that you take in order to move yourself into the step in the right direction, it's a cliche, but it won't happen overnight, but it will
So true.
happen. That's kind of what I'm experiencing in my personal life. So yeah, it's not a flex or a brag in any way, but like things that I've been doing every day consistently in my life have brought me to the point where now at 47, like my finances are better than what they ever were. My health is better than what it ever was. My relationship with my kids is better than it ever was. My intimate relationship with my partner is the best that I've ever experienced. Like all of this has sort of come to pass because I feel like I've just had that level of awareness, and I've been able to bring myself back to true north every time, and speak to people all around the world that keep me in check with what I'm doing. And I'm constantly coaching and constantly learning and constantly investing. And that's kind of where I feel that it's almost the universe will keep rewarding you as the more you level up, and the more you step into that unknown, the more you embrace change, and the more you embrace the unknown, the more that you embody the new learnings and the new teachings. Like it's kind of, I don't know, the world starts to appear and reappear in different shapes and forms, and all of a sudden you're thinking and operating on another level.
Mm. And I'm finding that a lot now in my life too. Things have gotten better. Yeah, 100% agree with you on that. Because I remember you saying, I think the last chat we did, we were talking a bit about my love life and stuff, and how I was just putting myself back out there in that dating space. And you said to me, and I remembered it too. You're like, you're not going to meet someone on a meditation table, Nathan. And I was like, oh, oh. And then, as those months of, I've met a few women and had different conversations and gone on a bit of a journey. It's like that. I needed that from you to be like, put yourself back out there, mate.
Mm.
Like I mean, like those gold nuggets. And even today, like action. So then when you were talking about action just then, I went, right, well, where in my life am I not taking action? And I was just like, yeah, there's a few areas there. Like, yeah, it's wild that even, yeah, and my podcast keeps me in check too. Same thing as you. Like, I've got a couple of awesome interviews coming up in the next couple of weeks. It's like, I know what they're going to do. Like, it's going to be that next level. Hence why you're on
So,
here again.
yeah, I like it. I think,
Yeah.
there's the evolution of all of that is exciting. And I think people really underestimate the impact of relationships, particularly an intimate one, because it's a mirror, and it's a look into your soul. Like you're going to attract everything that is, a mirror into your wounds. Like, it's just a fascinating subject when you get into relationship, because what you'll find is what you're seeking in someone else, they will project certain things and trigger certain things within you. But when you look further into it, it's actually like your own demon that's inside of you. You
Correct.
created it. So
Hmm.
the mirror shows up and says, okay, what are you going to do in this moment when you're faced with your fears, when you're faced with your demons? Like, how are you gonna slay this beast?
Hmm.
And typically we sort of have these moments where we go back to the same patterns and programs that we've learned in the past, and we fuck it all up and make mistakes. But the more you start to become consciously aware of what's going on, you shine a light on it. So another thing, like again in my book, I'm sort of pointing to these moments in my life where you shine a light on the programming, and all of a sudden it starts to dissolve. It's like switching on a light in a room and all the cockroaches disappear.
Yeah.
So, the more you can do that, the kind of it starts to you start to see things from a different perspective. You're looking down on yourself and saying, okay, now I know exactly what's going on. But relationship is just, I don't know, man. It's probably the most spiritual and personal growth that I've ever experienced is within my intimate relationship, because again, it's a reflection of how I love myself, how I feel about myself, and I've come to understand that there's a large part of me that doesn't like me. Like
Mm.
it's hard to explain, but yeah, there's things and opinions about myself that I didn't like, really harsh, really judgmental, things that I didn't really like. And I was like, my inner critic was super high. Just a lot of self-loathing, and mate, it was crazy to think that at this age I'm still coming up with demons that I hadn't had the opportunity to meet yet.
Mm. No, I've had some demons come up in the last couple of days myself, and yeah, it isn't interesting that when you do, like for me over the last 6 months, I've had the same, like it's a beautiful mirror too, but I've had the same things happen when I've been seeing some different women and stuff too. Like I've had my inner demons come back, and I'm thinking, well, I know why I went caveman for 3 years because I
Mm.
was like running away from those other parts of me, and then they just come straight back when you're with someone, right? I've had that since I've put myself back out there too, and for me, I've gone deeper in. Like it's like that onion. Like I've gone deeper again, but I feel like there will always be. I don't want to say that either, but like there's always going to be another deeper layer to myself until I guess I leave here. I feel like I'm always going to be stripping back those onion layers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. I don't think that it's a do and done process. I think it's
Nah.
it's always something that um, will have to be looked at, worked on, reviewed, iterated, changed. Like it's an evolution. It has to,
Yeah.
if you want to grow consciously as a human being, then you have to be conscious that that's what it takes, and the evolution is always a process. So um, yeah, man, it's always going to expose the holes in your armor, and if you signed up to the path that you're helping others work on the holes in their armor, well, then there's your mirror. Like if you don't live by what you teach, well, then you're a fraud. You're
Correct.
you're a fake and a phony, and you're just doing what the books say, and you're preaching to other people, but you don't live congruently with that. So that'll be your level of people, that you attract. But the moment you start to evolve and grow, then these other relationships will come into your life.
Yeah. And I've had those. humbling myself. And I've always been a big believer in, what you say is what you do. You're walking the talk, and I've always lived by that analogy because there are so many people around that you can see that aren't living that quite the way they're talking and the way they project themselves on social media. And I've always said to myself, no, if I'm saying something or I'm talking about something, I'm doing it in my
Mm.
personal life. And it's yeah, that's always been a big thing for me. Is like, nah, I'm walking the talk, and we need more people like that.
Agreed. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I said before. Like authenticity is, a word that's thrown out a lot, but I think what we really need is people that are congruent with the things that they do and say. If they
100%.
look at their lives and they can embody all of those things, and you know that, when I'm dealing with this person, whether it be as a friend in a friendship or in a business relationship or in a, whatever capacity, I know that I'm gonna what I see is what I get, and I can trust this person. Trust is a huge thing, and I think that the more integral people are, the more they sort of resonate a kind of vibe that I'm good with this guy or this girl. That I know that I'm going to be not going to get fucked over, and we live in a world that is
Yeah,
largely like where people are in this self-preservation, and they're happy to mess someone over in order to get what they want and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah. Well, that's what the system's built on.
yeah, that's right. Hmm.
Yeah, we could
What
talk
what
about
are you working on at the moment? Like what's making the biggest impact on your life with your coaching, or whether it be your like personally your relation. You mentioned relationships a bunch and all the rest of it. What's
Hmm.
what's happening?
Well, for me, the biggest thing I'm working on right now is that self-worth and that ability to be able to actually ask and receive
Hmm.
like love or a gesture or like because I've never been one to receive. I've always just been like, I'll just do it. You know what I mean? Like just that open to receive has been a big one over the last 12 months. And even the last couple of days has been real. It's been like that self-worth. It's like I am worthy of leveling up. And, I felt like I've been in the comfort zone a bit the last probably 3 or 4 months.
Mm.
And it's like, okay, well, you're not, I feel like I'm always growing, but there was just some moments where I'm like, there's not really much happening. And that's in all areas of my life. But I've just found myself in the last probably 2 weeks getting myself back out, and there's been some things going on around me, but it's like, well, my internal's okay, but there's been some smoke and some fire out and some grenades being thrown. But like, well, my internal's good, but externally there's a bit going on around me. But it's
Right.
just for me, it's just being able to navigate that, and I feel like I'm much more grounded than I've ever been. Like,
Hmm.
I've always been pretty high and full of energy, but it's like I'm more, yeah, even the other day, like I just feel like I'm more grounded and I can move through life's challenges better than what I probably was even 3 months ago.
Yeah, great.
I took my parents up and down the coast of Australia. They're from Victoria. We were very distant for a very long time. I went on my path and, I sort of shunted myself away from family and friends and different things. I went back down to Bendigo, my old hometown, and took them and brought them up here, and then I drove them back. And just that whole trip was just so nice to connect with my family again. It's like that little version of Nate finally got what he was craving the whole time. But it's like, well, I worked on myself that much, and I've just accepted them for who they are, and accepted myself for who I am. It's like open this beautiful thing where they've like this acceptance is like, yeah, there were some things that they were saying to me on that trip that I've never heard them say before. I'm like, what, like, what is this? And it's like, well, that's a testament to the work that you've done and the man that you are. Like, I come back from the trip and I like had a bit of a tear. I'm like, far out, like that was really special. Like,
Hmm.
not many sons would go down 2 states, drive their parents up to the coast and back down again. It's like it's a really special time. That was back in June, and then from that, like my whole life's completely changed because I'm in that space of acceptance, accepting those for who they are, accepting myself, accepting everyone's on their own path and on their own journey. And I really can't change anything. And being in that space of, well, the things that were done weren't actually done to me. So why am I holding this against someone when it wasn't actually done to me? it was done to someone else. You sort of know where I'm going. It's like
Yeah.
I've accepted that and everything's changed, if that makes sense. That
Mm.
acceptance is a beautiful. I say now, like I'm living in acceptance more than I ever have, and it's a really awesome place to be.
Amazing. So good.
Mm. Yeah, you got me to. I just poured that out then, but I don't usually get asked questions on my own channel. But anyway,
I thought I run a podcast, eh? I'm
yeah, yeah,
flip the
no.
switch.
But yeah, I just have probably needed to express that publicly, I feel, or I
Mm.
just feel like I'm in a much better place in my own internal than I ever have, and yeah, I feel like I've got more of a idea of where I actually want to go now, and it's
Yeah.
good. But it's also taking that action and not sitting on my hands. And but yeah, even in terms of relationships, I've had some awesome conversations with some awesome women out there. A few of them listen to this podcast, but some of them have been friendships too, which has been great, and some of them have been a bit more than a friendship. But I feel like I've needed to go back into that space to prove to myself that I actually am capable and worthy of having a relationship. I feel like it's just all been one big test.
Yeah.
Like the women I have been conversing with, it's like brought up different things in me, and it's brought up some old scars too, like the whole ghosting thing. Like my last few days, no, last few weeks, it's like, I used to do the ghosting. So I feel like I've been humbled in a sense that, oh, hang on a minute, maybe you need to know what it feels like. And yeah, that's definitely been humbling. But then it's like, well, maybe then they're not on my path. They're not like there's a reason why that's happening. Yes, it feels shit, but it's like, well, maybe they're not, where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
Somewhere else. You know what I mean? Not on the energy doesn't really match.
Mm.
But I definitely know that now that to the women out there that I have ghosted, if any of them do listen, well, I don't think so, but like I know what it feels like, and it's not a good feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Mm.
Yeah, it's a shit feeling. And I think
Yeah,
it becomes sort of gamified in a sense where you I don't know, it's more of your ego
100%.
having its way rather than being authentic, so but you certainly it sounds like you're sort of putting yourself in a situation where you're allowing these things to happen, which is
Yep.
good because you get a sense of what that feels like, and you also get a sense of what it feels like when someone does respond and
Mm.
they don't ghost you, and you can have intelligent conversations, and it's not just how's the weather or stupid and all the rest of it that you go on with. It's actually something that's a bit more
Yeah, it's
uh,
good.
expansive, and you can kind of work upon that. I think the my experience with all of that was very fleeting,
Mm.
but I did find that the quicker that you could bring things from online to offline,
100%.
that would be the where all the juice is, and again, like you're experiencing all of those things that you just described but in 3D, and
Yeah.
and I, and that's where you develop your sense of who you are and how you respond, and you watch all the wounds come up and the anxious attachment and the avoidance and all these things, and you see it dance out, so it's an exciting place to be.
Yeah, it is.
Mm.
Just accepting, yeah, everything. And I will add too that yeah, and it's interesting too because when I first started back in the dating space, I felt like I shared too much too soon.
Mm.
So I got those humblings as well. It's like, well, you can sort of just because for me, I went caveman for 3 years, mate. Like I didn't go in society and date and all those things. Like I felt like I'd lived a lifestyle that I needed to sort of work on myself a bit and get to a point where I was ready to put myself back out there. And it was about this time last year when we had our conversation, and a 16-year-old client of mine said, "Oh, he found love." And I actually haven't shared this with anyone yet. He rang me and said, "Oh, like he wasn't able to love him. Like he couldn't say to himself that he loved himself at the time of his life that he was." And this time last year, he rang me and said he was proud of the man he saw in the mirror. A couple of weeks later, he's like, "Oh, I've met someone." And, I said, "Oh, yeah. How does she make you feel?" He's like, "Oh, she gives me butterflies. I'm a little bit nervous around." I'm like, "Mate, that's attraction, and it might lead to love, and months went by, and he rings me, he goes, I told her I loved her, Nath. I'm like, that's awesome, man. Did you tell yourself that you loved yourself too? He's like, yeah. I just got this whole new wave of love in me. And then he just turned the tables on me. He's like, oh, how's your love life going? I said, oh, it's not really going, mate. Like, I've sort of just been a bit caveman, sort of just doing my thing. He's like, well, you're a good looking young man. So I thank you. But he's like, put yourself back out there. He's like, you're not getting any younger, and you want a family and all these things. You're not going to meet someone, just as you said last year, you're not going to meet someone just doing what you're doing every day. Like, put yourself back out there. So I'm like, oh, well, I'll grab an app and just started walking up to him and just started talking to them again. And it was just that fear of rejection came up a lot. And, I always walked up to a woman on the beach back in January, had an awesome chat to her for like 6 hours. Like, just went,
Yeah.
it's like, like those things wouldn't have happened if I hadn't have taken that action. And to listen to a 16-year-old that I was helping turn the tables on me and the advice from
Yes.
you, it's like, well,
Got
the
it back to
universe
you.
was telling me something, you know what I mean? Like through a
Yeah.
16-year-old and you, it's like you need to get yourself back out there, bro. And the last, 12 months since I have has been awesome. I've learnt more about myself. And then I was like, well, was I a caveman for too long? And it's like, well, doesn't matter. You're learning those things now, and I'm still only 31. It's like it's a good
Yeah.
spot to be.
Yeah, but it sounds like the pendulum's really swung like from far left to far right, and you're now kind of course correcting
Yep.
and finding that balance. But you do come across with a demeanor that is high energy and a bit buzzy and all that kind of stuff, and that's not a bad thing. But
Yeah.
I mean, if you find that it might make part of you make rash decisions that like either make you go one way too far or the other way too far. You with me?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. Have you ever, like, I know you work out and stuff like that, but have you ever done any fighting at all? Have you ever done anything like that?
Like boxing and a bit of
Yeah.
wrestling. Well, me and my brother used to wrestle on trampoline as kids, and
Mhm.
yeah, not really as terms of MMA fighting or anything like that, but I have
Got
done a
any
bit.
MMA gyms around where you are?
There's a few, yeah, just down the Caloundra way. Yeah, there is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Suss a few out.
Okay, you
Yeah.
trying to tell me something,
Yeah.
eh?
Look, you don't have to take my advice, I'll throw it out there. If you don't like it, throw it back,
All
right?
right.
I think there's something in the process of going through combat.
Okay.
And it'll kind of level you out in terms of your energy and things like that. But a few things that I can project from my own experience onto you is that you find a level of resilience that you otherwise wouldn't have tapped into because you never put yourself in a situation where if you don't do anything, your face is going to get smashed, right?
Mm,
So the other thing that happens is you realize that you're not made of glass, and that when you do get hit, you just bounce back and get back up and keep going. And so that process of going through that has a profound effect on everything outside of your life. And you find that that sort of buzzy, erratic, leaky kind of energy that you may find pop up from time to time
mm-hmm.
starts to dissipate because you are putting yourself in a position where under immense amount of pressure, you can make calm and collective decisions. You with me?
I'm with you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
give it a shot.
I will.
There's,
Yeah.
there's something about getting hit in the face really hard, and and then throwing one back and or two back or whatever, and starting to like use your strategy and your know-how and all that kind of stuff to sort of beat your opponent. As long as you find a really good gym, like I've found a really good dojo down here, and the coach like he's Russ, he's a phenomenal guy, like just a really good human.
Mm.
But he runs a really good show down there. Like he's got an immense amount of respect from all of his students, including myself, and I'm the oldest one there, apart from him. All right, so it's just a great environment, and the things that I train with my kids and stuff like that. So like we're all in there a few times a week. It's a fucking phenomenal experience, and I recommend it to you, and I recommend it to any man, especially a father. Like yeah, you want to find out who you really are. Put yourself in a cage with a fighter.
I don't know how I'd go. I used to play AFL a bit, so I used to wrestle blokes then, but I didn't think I was anybody chop at that sort of stuff. But yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know how I'd go.
It's so scary and intimidating and frightening, but again, like you'll find that when you go through the process of learning about yourself and how much resilience that you actually have, especially when you're tired and you've got a low energy and you're getting smashed,
Mm.
like it's a metaphor for life. I recommend it. Just give it a couple of goes. See if you can find a joint and it's got a good vibe, good culture about it, and uh, and come back to me.
Like
And
an
and
MMA sort of gym? Is what you
yeah,
sort of? Yeah, okay.
yeah, for sure.
I know. I drive past one. I already know where there's one.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Adrian, thanks so much for the last hour and 10 minutes or so. It's been awesome just having a chat. Like I always learn so much from you, and I'm sure my listeners and audience do too. And even your audience probably learns more about you listening to our conversations because you do put them up on yours, don't you?
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just awesome. If there's a piece of it, we probably be given a piece of advice. If there's a piece of advice out there or something to leave my audience and viewers on to sort of wrap this up, what would you say? And then just tell people where they can find you and whatever else.
Yeah. Good question. Hey, like I don't know if there's any really one piece of advice, but I think whenever you ask me this, I sort of take the theme and of the conversation that we've been having so far. There's everything that we've spoken to throughout this whole conversation kind of leads me to this sort of cliche term of self-awareness and really coming to a realization of what reality actually is. Everyone's got if you're an optimist, like you and I are very much optimists at heart, but optimistic people have a tendency to bullshit themselves really well, and they
Yep.
tell themselves that things are much better than what they actually are.
Yeah, I've
So
done that. Yep.
that applies in your relationships, it applies in your marriage, it applies to your relationship with your kids, it applies to business, your money, your health, your mental health, all that kind of stuff. And so in every domain of life that applies. So I think that whenever I've had these moments of, okay, stop kidding yourself, stop bullshitting yourself, stop trying to just paint the world as a glass half full and look through everything through rose-colored lenses and all the rest of it, and just call it out as it is. Whenever I've had those moments, it's a shitty feeling, and
Yes.
it's a difficult and very uncomfortable position to put yourself in because then you realize that you're actually falling behind or you're not really where you think you actually are. And just in that realization, you start to do and say things that are different from what they were an hour ago or yesterday or whatever. So again, you put the phone down, you stop fucking around watching reels, and you attack the day with a bit of a plan, and you start to be a little bit more aggressive with your actions. You have an intent and intention to sort of seize the day. You make conversations more meaningful. You pay attention to what's going on. You start to become more aware and more alert. You start to look at yourself, your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, what you're putting in your mouth. You look in the fridge and the cupboard and you look around and see what you're buying, what your impulses are, all of those things that are plaguing and affecting how you exist. And you course correct. And the moment you do that, you see a shift. You see it straight away, you feel it straight away, and people's places, circumstances, events just pop up, and you're like, "Fuck, where was this yesterday?" And you're like, "Well, I didn't put myself into that um, vibration." We've if you think about time, we're sort of living in this sort of splices of time, and I have this belief system that right now, there's a version of Nathan and Adrian that are having a conversation 10 minutes from now, 10 years from now, 1,000 years from now. Like I feel like time in that linear sense is a possibility. And I like to think that there's a version of myself that all I need to do is call in and step step forward into that version of myself that I want to be. So rather than think about all of my past mistakes and things that are gone on, just start to think about the version of myself that I want to become and just step into that version.
Mm.
Just become that version right now. Don't wait 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years to become, just be that person now. And then all of a sudden everything catches up. Your timelines start to marry up together. You with me?
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you said that piece of advice not that long ago. Oh, it probably was that long ago,
Yeah.
and I took that and went, yeah. I started imagining a version of me that existed, however long, and yeah, it's a good piece of advice because it's held me in good stead. So you could say that I'm living proof of that piece of advice. It's awesome because then you're envisioning that, and then you're just stepping into that too. It's cool.
Hmm. Well,
You're a
there you
bloody good man, Adrian. I'm so glad I listened to that podcast of yours 4 years ago after I fell through a table. Because look at the
go.
conversations we've had since.
So good.
It's
I'm very
awesome.
happy for you, mate. It's great to see you succeeding and
You too.
and living your best life. I'm really happy to hear all of that. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and
You
yeah,
too.
look forward to doing it again.
Yep, I can't wait for part four or
Awesome.
part five. Every part we've done now, it's awesome, man.
Awesome.
Thank you for coming on, and you're always quick to reply back to my email or message, and you're always willing to jump on, and I really appreciate that, and I'm very, very grateful for that, mate. I appreciate you and all you do, and I still listen to you and your podcast when an episode you got a good guest on that I'm like, oh yeah. And the Jack Cruz ones were awesome chats. Just the recent
Yeah,
ones you've done,
sweet.
they were great.
Awesome.
So yeah, I appreciate you, and I'm so glad I was hungover and high that morning and listened to your podcast with Jason because I never once thought that we'd end up being friends and
Yeah.
doing the podcasting and stuff. So thank you so
Awesome.
much for all you do, and I know your podcast inspired me, and hopefully it's inspired others, and that's why I started mine. So very appreciative and very grateful that you have always just reply so fast and always willing to jump on. It's awesome. So keep doing what you're doing, mate. I love it.
My pleasure, mate. Thank you.
Thanks. And guys, I'll talk to you all again soon. Got some awesome podcasts coming up. So we're back. We're up and running. And yeah, this new version of me, I'm looking forward to expressing that more. So thanks, Adrian. Thanks, everyone. I'll talk to you all soon. Cheers.